And the health care reform isn't going to go away anytime either. And speaking of this, we've got some new studies out that there is apparently a single dose now of H1N1 vaccine that will be enough to protect adults against the swine flu. So how can investors make money on all of this swine flu story this fall? John Sullivan, I'm sure a Shirt-Tail resident, strategist at Leerink Swann, joins us now with your ideas on this. What's the way you would approach this as far as some sort of opportunity to invest?
Hey, Tom, good afternoon. And the healthcare sector is one that's lagged the rest of the stock market for the last several months. Investors nervous about healthcare reform. So we think there's lots of opportunity in healthcare for investors. Regarding the H1N1 virus specifically, there are a few different ways for investors to play it. Obviously, if the outbreak of the disease is widespread, hospitals should benefit at least in the near term. There's a lot of vaccine that's going to be moved around the country to clinicians so that they can give it to patients. We think that there are drug distribution companies that can help with that as well. So there are some ways for investors to benefit by this situation as it unfolds over the next few months. More broadly, we think that there's lots of opportunity in healthcare for investors as healthcare reform continues to unfold and as we get toward the end of the healthcare reform negotiations.
Well, let's sort this out, because we were talking about this, of course, with all the news this week again about healthcare reform, about the fact that there's a lot of companies out there that have been way up or way down, kind of event-driven by whatever the headlines of the day are coming out of Washington. So a lot of people on Wall Street are talking about maybe biotechs, but you're talking in your notes that I read about biotechs are not really the way to go when it comes to H1N1. They're not going to benefit from all of this. How so?
Well, as far as H1N1 is concerned, there are a couple of companies whose stocks have benefited dramatically as investors have gotten behind them in the perception that they have the vaccine products. A company like BioCris has benefited well by that. We think the stock's coming off a long way and think that it's probably a little bit too far for investors to benefit by directly. We think that, you know, we'd point investors towards some biotech stocks that we think have some upside regardless of how the H1N1 situation unfolds. We like Genzyme, for example, stock symbol GENZ. Genzyme's in the middle of a little bit of a manufacturing issue in one of their plants right now. Historically, manufacturing problems come and go for companies like these, but more importantly, the customers and the products endure, and we think Genzyme's a stock that's got an awful lot of upside among biotech companies.
John, can I ask you your take on what's come out of the UK? Because I just came back from there, and there is tremendous resistance for people to take the vaccine that's available there. There's recommendations that pregnant mothers should take it, and there's been a very low take-up rate. And I don't know whether partly that's because of concerns about possible side effects or the relative mildness of the swine flu so far relative to the public perceptions. But is the vaccine really going to be that money maker if that experience is replicated elsewhere?
You know, I do think an awful lot of vaccine is going to be dosed over the next few months. My opinion's not different from yours, and I think that in Europe, where they're a little bit ahead of us in other parts of the world, including Europe, regarding this swine flu outbreak, I think that what they're finding is frequently the disease is pretty benign, and riding through it is an option. So I do think that because safe is better than sorry with respect to these sort of things, I think there'll be a lot of dosing of the swine flu vaccine over the next few months, but I won't be a bit surprised if ultimately this turns out to be somewhat of a fizzle as a public health issue.
All right. John Sullivan over at Leerink Swann. Thanks, John, very much. Appreciate your insight on
Thank you, guys.
Some ways to make money out of this whole